Hey, it's Ben with SuperPumped Podcast, and I am excited to continue our series on turnover to figure out ways to solve your people problems so that you in turn solve your profit problems. And as we've talked about in this series, when you have high turnover or even modest turnover, it is just eating into your bottom line. And so this series is about how to take control of that and to proactively stop the turnover beast, slay the turnover beast, and keep the money that you've worked so hard in your business to earn. Welcome to the SuperPumped Business Podcast, where passion, purpose, and profits collide. If you want to launch the kind of growth that changes lives from the bottom all the way to the top of your organization, this is the place. I'm Ben Walters, a serial entrepreneur, pastor, coach, and consultant. If you're ready to stop playing small and start building something extraordinary, let's get super pumped. Today is the second part in what you can do before someone ever dons your uniform, before they're ever an official employee of your company. And last week I talked about how once you put out an ad or a call for new employees, that you want to hire someone within a 10-minute drive of that business. And that will incredibly elevate your likelihood of that person staying. Now, that isn't a solution just in and of itself. In terms of turnover, there are a number of things you need to put together, and it depends on your location and your industry and so forth. But I'm going to give you kind of a toolkit, and you can pick and choose which tool you think works. And a lot of these work in conjunction with one another. So the 10-minute rule was last week. Today, I want to talk about referral bonuses, because a lot of companies have these, but they don't necessarily either understand the mindset for why they're doing them, or they're not doing them in a way that makes them effective. And so I want to dig into why referral bonuses can be an incredibly important way to reduce your turnover. So the first thing that a recruiting bonus is going to do is something related more to your retention than the actual person you're recruiting. This is a tool to leverage your recruiting dollars to keep your current employees. Think about that for a minute. You have the opportunity when you're recruiting new hires, right, to hand that money to ZipRecruiter or to maybe a boosted post or on Indeed or, Monster, or whoever that platform is that you utilize, right? You give them dollars and they give you candidates. But if you take that money and you put it in your current employees through a referral bonus, that makes their bottom line better. That's something, this is a whole side episode, but the more money you put in your employees' pockets, the more likely they are to stay with your company, right? They want to make money. Everybody's there to make money. So you are actually leveraging those dollars to something you care about. You don't care whether Indeed or Monster or any of those make money, right? You care about whether your people make money. And the more money they make, the more likely they are to stay. So the first thing is you're leveraging those dollars. Now, here's the second thing. Compare and contrast someone who comes in off the street through an ad versus someone who is referred by a fellow employee, right? It's a huge difference because there is a pressure on both the person who does the referring as well as the referee for this relationship to work. My son was looking for summer employment, right? And so he said, "Dad, who do you know that might be looking for people?" And I said, "Well, let me think about that for a minute." And I came up with an idea of a guy that I thought, I know he's always looking for folks and it seems good. So anyway, I said to my son, I'd be open to referring you to this person that I know, my friend. He was like, "Yeah, I'd be interested." But before I did the referral, I said, "Okay, now I want to make sure you are going to do a good job for this guy. You're not going to flake," because the difference is if he's applying to Cane's or Chick-fil-A, some fast food summer job, right? And it doesn't feel like a fit, he's pretty likely going to bail fairly quickly, right? I hate working the fryer or whatever that thing is in that business. But if he's been referred by his dad or by a coworker to go to that job, he's much more likely to stick with that job because he doesn't want to embarrass me. It's the same way with your employees. Your employees have a vested interest if they recommend that their sister or their cousin or their, father-in-law work for your company. They're going to lean on that person to make sure that they are somebody that you think is going to stay. So there's a pressure to stay and to perform. And the way you put that in place is with these referral bonuses, that there's certain time lengths where it's paid out, not only to the referee, but also the referrer. So that's an important thing. Here's a really cool side benefit, third benefit to referral bonuses. I would call this the add-on trainer. Think about a lot of jobs you've had. You have an onboarding process, right? And so generally there's a trainer or someone assigned to you to kind of get you up to speed within that company. But oftentimes it's a fairly fast process. It might last a couple days or a couple weeks, whatever that timeline is. But then that person fades away. And so often, as soon as your trainer leaves and your onboarding process is complete, that's when you have all these questions, right? But a lot of us, and I've been in this boat, we're a little bit reticent to ask questions after the fact. Like we feel like, they're going to think I'm not too bright, I'm not picking this up, or they're going to think I didn't pay attention during the onboarding process. And so then you end up with these kind of unanswered questions, and it limits maybe your ability to get up to speed and be productive as fast as you could. But here's the cool thing about a referral bonus, right? You can go back to that person who referred you to the job. So maybe it's your sister or your, daughter-in-law, whoever that is. And you can say, hey, listen, I had a question about this. I don't quite recall how to do this or where I get the resources for this, maybe where the office supplies kept, whatever that thing is, or, what our production day is. So instead of having to go back to that trainer, they can informally go to the person who referred them and say, I need a little bit of clarification on this. And so you essentially have a second trainer. You have the official trainer or onboarder, right? But then you have the referral person who serves in a de facto training role. So that is a huge benefit. Think about it. You're getting an extra trainer for free because you did this referral thing. The fourth thing that's really important with referrals and why referrals are much more effective than just someone you pull off of Indeed or ZipRecruiter is because when someone refers an employee to your organization, they go through this process. They may not do it formally, but they go through a process to figure out, is this person aligned with your business? So in other words, is this person someone who's going to be a fit with your culture? Maybe you have a fun culture and a joking around culture. They're not going to refer a friend who's super serious and stodgy, right? They're going to think that person doesn't fit here. Or your culture might be really fast paced. It might be frenetic. If you think about like logistics and people just trying to get trucks filled and the just frenetic nature of that, right? They're not going to refer someone who's more methodical and takes forever to make a decision and kind of goes through an entire process. They're going to think that person isn't the right fit for the pace of this business, right? Same thing with if it's a fast food, the pace is really fast. So someone who's a little bit slower and just doesn't operate on that warp speed, they're not going to refer them because they know it's not going to be a fit. But when you're getting people off of, just general throw it out to the universe and then they apply, they don't know whether they're a fit or they're not a fit. And so then you've got to do all that sifting and sorting. Whereas with this, they are doing the sifting and the sorting for you. In their entire network of people, they're thinking, who fits here? Culturally, who fits here? Pace-wise, who fits here just with, the general vibe of the office? So Those four things are going to make your hires stronger if you give a strong referral bonus. Now, here's one thing. Make those referral bonuses a meaningful amount of money, because we talked about you're spending somewhere between $2,500 and $5,000 in low wage service jobs, right? Just to get a new person. So why are you giving a referral bonus that's $20 or $25 or even $100? You're circumventing a $5,000 process and you're going to give someone $25. That's pound wise, penny foolish, right? That's silly. Make those referral bonuses legit. If you're spending $300 on, Indeed, give that money to that employee and get that higher levels of candidate, because the likelihood that a referral bonus person is going to stick is way higher than your Indeed person. So on an Indeed person, you may go through that process 2 or 3 or 4 times, right? Versus this process where you only go through it once. So maybe give them even more than what you would have spent on that process, knowing you're not going to be repeating it 1 or 2 or 3 more times that year. Make that referral bonus meaningful. Don't cheap out and think, oh, this is just a cost-cutting measure, because it isn't. It is an investment, and it is an investment in your current employee. It is going to up their engagement, and it is going to put pressure on both the person who's been hired as well as the person who referred to make this work. You are going to have an extra trainer, and you are going to find people who are better aligned both culturally and within the pace of your business to work out for you. So that's our super pumped turnover pre-hire recruiting tip: is pay referral bonuses, promote them heavily within your company, and watch the right kind of people start coming through the door. Those are the people that won't be turning over nearly as much as just people off the street. Thanks for joining me today. If you need help with turnover in your business, just click on the website, book a free consultation. We'll talk through some things. And if it sounds like we can help you with that, I would be glad to dive in with you, and let's get down to business. Thanks for joining me today on the Super Pumped Business Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, I have 2 quick next steps for you. First, subscribe or follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And second, jump on over to superpumped.com to find out all the incredible ways we can help you launch your Super Pumped business. Keep well, and I'll see you next time.